Introduction: coffee has come a long way from wild plants in Africa to a global industry worth billions. It's more than just a drink, it's a daily ritual, a cultural symbol, and a powerful economic force. This report explores the history of coffee, tracing how a humble bean traveled across continents and centuries to become one of the most consumed beverages on Earth. 1. Origins in Ethiopia, 9th–15th centuries. Coffee's story begins in the highlands of Ethiopia. According to legend, a goat herder named Kaldi noticed his goats became unusually energetic after eating red berries from a particular bush. While this story is probably more myth than fact, it's widely accepted that wild coffee plants were first discovered in this region. Early uses of coffee weren't always as a drink. Some African tribes crushed the berries and mixed them with animal fat to create energy balls for long journeys. Eventually, the berries were boiled into a simple beverage, an early version of what we now recognize as coffee. 2. Spread to Yemen and the Islamic world, 15th–16th centuries. Coffee crossed the Red Sea into Yemen, where it was cultivated and brewed by Sufi monks to help them stay awake during night prayers. Yemen became the first region to commercialize coffee production. The port of Mocha became a key export hub, giving rise to the famous term Mocha used for coffee blends today. Coffee houses or kava-khane began appearing in cities across the Islamic world. These establishments became popular centers for conversation, music, political debate, and even chess. In many ways, they were the original social networks. 3. Coffee in the Ottoman Empire. By the early 1500s, coffee had spread to major cities like Cairo, Damascus, and Istanbul. In the Ottoman Empire, coffee houses flourished, even as religious leaders occasionally tried to ban them out of fear. They encouraged rebellion or unorthodox thinking. Despite these occasional bans, coffee's popularity kept growing. The Turks refined the brewing method, developing a strong, unfiltered drink known today as Turkish coffee. For arrival in Europe, 17th century, European travelers, traders, and diplomats brought coffee back from the East. By the mid-1600s, coffee houses had opened in cities like Venice, London, Paris, and Amsterdam. In England, coffee houses were called penny universities because, for the price of a cup, one could engage in lively conversation and hear the latest news. In France, became associated with philosophers and artists. Even though coffee was initially met with suspicion by some, with nicknames like the bitter invention of Satan, it soon gained papal approval and spread across the continent. 5. Global expansion and colonialism, 18th–19th centuries. With European empires expanding, coffee cultivation moved into colonies in the Caribbean, South America, Southeast Asia, and Africa. The French introduced coffee to the Caribbean, the Dutch brought it to Java in Indonesia, and the Portuguese established plantations in Brazil. Brazil eventually became and remains the largest coffee producer in the world. This global expansion relied heavily on enslaved labor and exploitation, laying the foundations for today's coffee supply chain. 6. Industrialization and instant coffee, 19th–20th centuries. The 1800s saw major innovations in coffee roasting, grinding, and brewing. Coffee became more accessible to the masses, no longer a luxury for the elite. By the early 1900s, instant coffee was introduced, making preparation faster and easier. During World War I and II, coffee, especially instant, became a staple for soldiers. After the wars, demand skyrocketed in households across the US and Europe, leading to the rise of big commercial coffee brands. 7. The specialty coffee movement, late 20th century onward. In the 1970s and 80s, a backlash against bland mass-produced coffee led to the rise of specialty coffee. Small roasters and independents started focusing on quality beans, ethical sourcing, and artisanal brewing methods. This movement, often called the second wave, was led by companies like Starbucks, which helped popularize espresso drinks in the US in the 2000s. The third wave emerged, treating coffee as a craft similar to wine. This wave emphasizes origin, flavor profiles, direct trade with farmers, and precision in roasting and brewing. Pour-over, cold brew, siphon, and other specialty techniques became mainstream in urban around the world. 8. Coffee in the modern world today. More than 2 billion cups of coffee are consumed every day. It is the second most traded commodity in the world after oil. Coffee supports the livelihoods of millions of people, from farmers and pickers to baristas and exporters. Coffee culture varies by region. Espresso bars in Italy, elaborate coffee ceremonies in Ethiopia, café terraces in Paris, or fast drive-thrus in the US. As climate change and global demand create new challenges, sustainable sourcing and fair trade practices are becoming more important to both producers and consumers. Conclusion: from the highlands of Ethiopia to kitchens and around the globe, Coffee has transformed the way people connect, work, and live. It's been banned, celebrated, traded, and reinvented countless times. But one thing remains constant. Coffee is more than a drink, it is a global ritual that continues to evolve with every generation.